The life of an animal can be very tough. They need food and water, of course, but they also need to dodge being eaten themselves. And while many animals have been able to adapt to the changes in their environments over the years, some haven't been so lucky. Over the past few centuries, we humans have had a major impact on the environment, and we've caused a number of species to die out. We've chopped down huge swaths of rainforest, polluted the oceans and filled them with plastic, and fished many species to the point of extinction. In this video, we will look at some animals that are no longer with us because of our actions. So grab your things, class is in session. Ammonites. Ammonites were marine animals that lived in the world's oceans for hundreds of millions of years. The first ammonites appeared around 400 million years ago, and they were incredibly diverse. Some were small, while others could grow up to 2 meters long. Their shells would often have elaborate spiral patterns, and they came in a variety of colors. These animals were the beetles of the sea, and they existed in much greater numbers than they do today. Ammonites went extinct 66 million years ago during the Cretaceous-Speleogene extinction event. This was the same event that killed off the dinosaurs, and it happened after a massive asteroid slammed into Earth. Passenger pigeon. Passenger pigeons were once the most abundant bird in North America. There were billions of them, and they would travel in flocks so large that they would blot out the sun. They would eat their way through entire forests in just hours, and farmers would often have to protect their crops by putting nets over them. Despite their abundance, passenger pigeons went extinct in the early 20th century. The last passenger pigeon died in 1914, and it was named Martha. She died in captivity, and she never saw another member of her species again. Passenger pigeons were hunted extensively for their meat and their feathers, and as their numbers declined, they became more and more rare. Eventually, there were only a handful left in the wild, and then none. Carolina parakeet. The Carolina parakeet was a type of parakeet that lived in the southeastern United States. It was one of the largest parrots in the country, and it was known for its loud, raucous voice. These birds would often be seen in flocks, and they would feed on fruit, nuts, and grains. Unfortunately, the Carolina parakeets went extinct in the early 20th century. The last known Carolina parakeet died in 1918. These beautiful creatures were hunted for sport, and they were also killed because people thought that they were damaging crops. Many of them were captured and sold as pets, which likely led to a decline in population. They may be gone, but we have plenty of videos about these guys if you want to learn more. Dodo bird. Dodos are some of the most famous extinct animals in the world. They were large flightless birds that were found on the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. Dodos were about the size of a small man, and they had long, slender legs and a large head. They were related to pigeons, and they evolved from white-throated rails that flew over from Madagascar. Dodos were flightless because they had no predators on their island. They didn't need to fly to escape danger, so they gradually lost their ability to do so. Sadly, dodos went extinct in the 17th century. When humans arrived on Mauritius, they brought with them rats, cats, and dogs that quickly killed many of the dodos. In addition, humans hunted dodos for food, and within a few decades, they were all gone. Tasmanian tiger. The Tasmanian tiger, also known as the thylacine, was a carnivorous marsupial found in Australia. It was about the size of a German shepherd, and it had a distinctive black and orange striped back. Thylacines were very shy animals, and they were often seen only at night. They were endangered for much of their range, in part because of competition with other Australian predators like dingoes and red and eastern quolls. But they were still present throughout Tasmania until the 1930s, when bounties placed on their heads by the government resulted in the killing of every last one of them. Since their extinction, several alleged sightings have occurred, but none of these have been confirmed. Great auk. Great auks were large flightless birds that lived in the northern hemisphere. They were about the size of an ostrich, and they had a thick layer of fat that helped them to stay warm in cold climates. Great auks were excellent swimmers, but they were terrible at flying. As a result, they spent most of their time in the water. Humans have been hunting great auks for centuries, and this, combined with habitat destruction, has caused their extinction. The last known great auk died in 1844. At the time, humans were killing great auks for their meat and their feathers. We were also killing them simply because they were there. By the mid-1800s, great auks were very rare, and conservation efforts began. But it was too late. Golden toad. The golden toad was a small, brightly colored toad that lived in the mountains of Costa Rica. It was only about 2 inches long, and it was known for its bright yellow skin. Golden toads were active during the day, and they would often be seen near streams and ponds. Sadly, golden toads are now extinct. It disappeared in the 1980s, and it's believed that climate change played a role in their extinction. Golden toads are a neotropical species, and they require a specific range of temperatures and rainfall in order to survive. When the climate began to change, it's believed that this caused the golden toad's habitat to shrink. This made it harder for them to find food and mates, and eventually, they died out. Baji dolphin. Baji dolphins are freshwater dolphins that live in China. They're about 5 feet long, and they have a distinctive white underbelly. Baji dolphins are very rare, and they are considered to be one of the most endangered dolphins in the world. In fact, they have been declared functionally extinct. This means that there are so few of them left that it's unlikely that they will ever recover. There are only an estimated 10 to 20 Baji dolphins left in the wild, and they are found in just a few rivers in China. Baji dolphins have been hunted for their meat and also for their oil. In addition, they have been caught in fishing nets, and many have died as a result of pollution. Stellar sea cow. Stellar sea cows were huge marine mammals that lived in the Arctic Ocean. They were about the size of a blue whale, and they were known for their thick layer of blubber. This blubber helped them to stay warm in the cold Arctic waters, and it also made them very buoyant. Humans have been hunting stellar sea cows for centuries, and this has caused their extinction. The last known stellar sea cow was killed in 1741. At the time, humans were killing stellar sea cows for their meat and their fat. They were also killing them for their hides, which could be used to make clothing and other items. Tasmanian wombat. The Tasmanian wombat was a large, furry mammal that lived in Australia. It was about the size of a bear, and it had a distinctive pouch. Like other wombats, Tasmanian wombats were herbivores, and they spent most of their time eating grass and other vegetation. However, Tasmanian wombats went extinct in the late Pleistocene epoch. This was around 11,700 years ago. It's believed that climate change played a role in their extinction. During the Pleistocene epoch, the climate was much colder than it is today. This allowed for plants like grasses and shrubs to flourish. But as the climate began to warm, these plants began to die off. This, in turn, caused the Tasmanian wombat to starve. Scimitar hornbill. The scimitar hornbill is a large, heavy bird that lives in Africa. It is known for its distinctive bill, which is shaped like a scimitar or a curved sword. This bill is used for cutting through tough fruits and seeds. Scimitar hornbills are very rare, and they are considered to be one of the most endangered hornbills in the world. In fact, they have been declared extinct in the wild. This means that there are no longer any living in their natural habitat. There are only an estimated 150 scimitar hornbills left in the world, and they are all in captivity. Scimitar hornbills have been hunted for their meat and their feathers. In addition, they have been captured and sold as pets. Irish elk. Irish elk are large, majestic animals that lived in Europe and Asia. They were about the size of an African elephant, and they had huge antlers that could span up to 12 feet from tip to tip. Irish elk were herbivores, and they spent most of their time eating grass and other vegetation. However, the Irish elk went extinct around 11,000 years ago. It's believed that climate change played a role in their extinction. During the last ice age, the climate was much colder than it is today. It's made it difficult for plants to grow, and this, in turn, caused the Irish elk to starve. Which of these animals was your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to watch more videos about extinct animals. Thanks for watching.